Good morning, everyone out there in Radioland. This is 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair, the voice of Montclair State, coming at you live from the beautiful School of Communication and Media. I'm Louis Biondelillo, here as always with the wonderful, the smiley, the goofy, the Monday morning, Kyle Pepitone. Hi, Kyle.
How's it going, Louis?
Absolutely fantastic. We have some wonderful news to share in a little bit, right, Kyle?
That is very true.
Fantastic. How was your weekend? Good?
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's all schoolwork now, so not much else, but it's fine.
Totally understand. And we're going into week 5 of the spring 2021 semester this week. Starting it right with the morning buzz here on WMSC.
That is true. And today we have our special newscaster, Thomas. Thomas, why don't you tell us what's going on in the world?
It would be my pleasure. Okay, so first, we have, by the way, I just want to say good morning, everybody. Hope your morning's splendid today.
Good morning.
Good morning, Louis. All right, let's dive right into the news. First, more women are now coming forward that Governor Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed and asked inappropriate questions to them. In light of this, many legislators, including New York State Senate President Andrea Stewart Cousins, said that these allegations are too much of a distraction and Governor Cuomo must resign. Andrew Cuomo has stated that he will not resign over these allegations. However, he said that he will sign a bill limiting his emergency powers. Yesterday, Governor Murphy was asked about this issue on CBS's Face the Nation, and he said that he wanted to wait and see how the investigation turns out. According to NewJersey.com, New Jersey has reported an additional 2,077 new COVID cases and an additional 17 deaths this week. So far, 2.45 million COVID vaccines doses have been administered, with about 1.6 million first doses being administered and 833,000 second doses being administered. According to News 12 New Jersey, CVS has added 100 more locations where residents can get the COVID vaccine. They get the Johnson & Johnson one shot or the Moderna, depending on which is available. Appointments must be made on the CVS website, and you must meet the eligibility requirements set by the state of New Jersey in order to receive the vaccine. Your weather today in Upper Montclair, New Jersey is a high of 45 degrees and a low of 25 degrees. Now back to the guys in the studio.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Actually, Louis, do you want to take it away? Because I'm not actually in studio.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. But in addition to Thomas, thank you so much for your newscast. We also have Matt here, and he's ready to give us a little bit of a 2-minute warning.
Sporting events. Over the weekend, Montclair State University was involved in several sporting events, including men's baseball going 2-0 over the weekend against Cabrina University, women's lacrosse winning their first game of the season, and a big meet that involved the women's and men's swimming team. Both the men's and the women's basketball teams played in the first round of the NJAC first round, and both teams advanced to the semifinals. So that's something to definitely keep your eye on for next weekend. Women's volleyball plays tomorrow and will look to continue their win streak after a win against NJCU last week. We also get our first look at men's and women's soccer this week as they both take on Stockton on Wednesday. And in professional sports, in the NBA, All-Star Weekend events took place last night. Usually it's over on a weekend, a Saturday and a Sunday, but due to COVID, they had it all on one night, where Steph Curry won his second three-point contest, and after being a runner-up last year, Domantas Sabonis won his first skills challenge. Anthony Simmons won his first NBA dunk contest after almost completing a dunk where he almost kissed the rim. He got that high. And Giannis Antetokounmpo played amazing last night in the All-Star game and won the Kobe Bryant MVP for the All-Star game as Team LeBron beat Team Durant. And in the NFL, the Washington football team releases Alex Smith, 2020's comeback player of the year, who overcame all the obstacles of after shattering his leg. This is just yet another obstacle that he'll definitely get past. And today in sports history, in 1971, Joe Frazier snapped Muhammad Ali's 31 fight winning streak at MSG by unanimous decision in 15 rounds in the fight of the century. Send back to you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. And now let's get right into it with our biggest news story for today. Well, for us at least. As you know, over the weekend, WMSC has been awarded with 4 first-place trophies in the Intercollegiate Broadcasting System's annual awards. Those awards consisted of Best Programming Director, Best Business Manager, and Best Use of Sound Effects.
But wait, Kyle, didn't you say that there were 4 awards?
What? Oh, right. We also won Best College Station in the nation with more than 10,000 students.
I'm sorry. Excuse me?
Yeah, we won Best College Station in the nation with more than 10,000 students.
The best college station in the nation with more than 10,000 students?
That's right, Lewis. The best college station in the nation with over 10,000 students.
We are so excited for this award. 1 year ago this week, we saw lockdowns come over our state and our country due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And we saw months of lockdowns and lives being changed for now over a year.
But that didn't stop us. We got to work doing what we do best, continuing with live broadcasting, but also incorporating pre-recorded shows into our programming here on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair.
And none of what happened here at the station could have been possible at all without our wonderful general manager, Annabella Poland, who is here with us today. Thank you so much for joining us, Annabella, and congratulations.
Congratulations to all of you guys, because this is your doing. I'm just taking, leading the way, and you guys have to follow. I cannot make you follow. This is not an activity that is a class. This is not a paid activity. This is an activity that you guys choose to do, and there's plenty at Montclair State to do. So congrats on choosing this activity and actually driving it home, right? In a year that was beyond challenging, in a year that we learned to do things slightly different. Yeah, I can't believe that it's been a year since we were in New York City at the same conference. On Saturday, I was thinking we went to that Spider-Man pizza place and we were celebrating Ashley's birthday. And then the world shut down, kind of. I mean, we were at Montclair State till March 18th. And that time when you guys were on spring break, we were able to come up with a plan to continue to broadcast from home, because we knew we were going to be going home. Didn't know for how long. At the time they had said 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And did we ever think we will be here? We're in a hybrid situation, but it is particularly cool that we took this award after 4 or 5 times we were nominated, at least in my tenure. I can't speak for this prior to me being at Montclair State or in college radio, because I was in the industry, but this was the 81st annual. And we were there many times before and walks away disappointed, thinking, why are we not measuring up, right? Like what's going on? And finally, to get that nod, I think was so important for our students, and especially in such a challenging year. And also on the weekend of, sort of a preview of International Women's Month, or Day, rather. In many countries, they celebrate today International Women's Day, even though March is Women's Month, right? And so to be a woman leader in radio, which still pretty much sort of a male-dominated industry, feels particularly great.
Exactly. And of course, as we all know, broadcast media can many times be a male-dominated field. Right before the show, you were just mentioning that to us. So being a woman, obviously, yourself, how does it feel to achieve this success, leading these students into this award, into this year, in this crazy climate that we're seeing?
It feels great. I mean, look at today's broadcast. I know that it's not always, 3 of you men, right? But it is kind of representative of radio, very much so. Because when we went to Marconi's, I was telling you prior to the show starting, I sat at a table with our then station manager. That was the first time we went in 2017, and I was the only woman on that table. And I kind of tweeted at Women in Radio, which is an organization of women who do radio. I was like, where are my women at? Right? It was really eye-opening to see that there are more positions opening up, and I am so happy to have sort of open a path for women to understand that this is not just a male industry. And then the following time we were nominated in 2019, I decided that I was bringing all women with me. And so my table had 5 women, because there was a host, a duo of a morning show that were married. So we're together. So that was good. And it felt a little bit better. So I think that there are changes being made. And I think it's good changes, because we need to represent our audiences. I think there needs to be done bit more. And obviously, when it comes to racial justice, we also have to diversify the voices that are being amplified on the media right now, so that we can actually represent the people that are listening or watching our broadcast.
And we know here at WMSC how much representation matters. That's why most of our shows, obviously, like you said, this is a bad example of it, but most of our shows are very diverse. But right now, obviously, you're just talking to Kyle, Thomas, and myself.
Well, but I would, to be fair, just because people are not hearing them or seeing them, we have 3 women in addition to me on this Zoom call, right? So shout out to Amanda Marino, who's the morning show producer, right? She's here with you guys every morning along with Kenny, right? Emma is here as well, and Khadija. I'm sorry if I am totally mispronouncing Khadija or Khadija, right? And so they are fact checking our stuff, and so they are here, right? They are part of this broadcast. And if you tune into any of the other morning shows, you'll see that diversity. I think WMSC is very diverse when it comes to. Oh, thank you. I did it right. I am so shocked and surprised. I haven't had enough coffee. So happy International Women's Day and month to these wonderful 3 women who are part of the Morning Buzz, and all of the girls at the station, because you girls are, sort of bringing that diversity. And I hope that you'll stick with it. I mean, it can be easy to feel defeated sometimes when perhaps your voice may not be heard at a C-suite meeting, right? And maybe the traditional roles in radio that you see for women in the C-suite, right, on the higher executive levels, tend to be stereotypical of women, like HR, right? Like, no, women can be content producers too, right? But I think that we are bringing up everybody through, and then, I'm creating my little, as I call it, army of people that go out into the industry and are going to hopefully change that landscape and make it diverse and really, really great.
And here at the station specifically, not only on our shows, but we have a wonderful student management team. And every single week I go to the meetings and I notice how diverse our student management team is, at least with gender is concerned. It really is great to see all different types of perspectives, because if you don't have those perspectives, you're not learning, you're not educating each other.
That is true. And we do have, and it varies by semester. It depends on who comes up through the ranks of WMSC that is up to the task, and someone that we can see is sort of reliable, right? But we do have diversity. We have, Latinos, we have Black SMT in the group, and we have had a lot of diversity in the past from, group of students who are Muslims, who speak different languages, who want to do different shows. And I think that that's so important to really showcase the diversity of Montclair State. And but it really does, in terms of the student managers, it really relies on their leadership skills and on the ability to do things. I will say this though, I notice there's still inequality in that area, and I will tell you why. Because a lot of our diverse students have 2 to 3 jobs, and that's not the case for a lot of the other students on campus, right? I mean, it might be the case, but it's not always the case. And I've seen that sort of inequity, and being that the universities and the cost of tuition can be so high, right? They have to afford other things and sometimes even help family. So I always try to think of ways where, the station is volunteer, but there are other areas in which you can become work with clients at the university, or find a way to work on campus. And whenever I get a word of a position, of a particular role that can be a payroll or a scholarship, I make those available, because I think it is important to address that gap, that inequality in the way that their families are just dealing with things. So it's not just primarily that, oh, they don't care. It is that they have to sometimes make ends meet at this very young age, and while trying to attend college, while attending family obligations. And I've seen it firsthand. I've seen some of our previous student managers in the past, you get to see some of you can't quite tell right? And then you know that something's not right, and then you find out that someone's sleeping in a car and they don't have a place to go, right? So these are some of the things that as a society we have to fix, which plays right into a topic that we are very passionate about this semester, which is racial justice. And in order for everyone to thrive, we have to provide a level playing field for everybody to learn and have the same opportunity and times to really soak this in.
Right, exactly. And now that is a very good point and everything. And before coming to WMSC, you worked a lot with both SiriusXM and Good Morning America. After being in those high-end professional studios, why did you decide to come to college radio and start managing this station?
Okay, so great question. So to begin with, I was doing television first, even though I began as a foreign correspondent, because I was offered a role in the #1 show, and who would say no when they're leaving college? And I did that for 5 years and I really enjoyed it. I was a little bit disenamored with the sometimes topics that were called news. And I was also, to be honest, after 5 years, the 3 a.m. wake up call was getting to me. It was fun. I really enjoy working there and I enjoy the people that I work with, but there was no 8-hour day ever. Like that was not a thing. And there were months when I worked 21 days straight and not 8-hour days. A good day would probably be a 12-hour day, really early. And because you begin so early and the world wakes up like maybe 3-4 hours after you woke up and you're doing things, your day is extended, and it was really, really rough on the body. And so I also love blank canvases. I love to sleep my mark and just move along. And I was part of the team that launched Good Morning America Weekend in 2004. And so once that show was set and going, I moved to the weekday show. And then once that was going, I got a call from Sirius asking me if I was under contract. It turns out they were looking for someone in a particular role, and they had talked to a couple of labels and like, do you know Annabella Pullen at Good Morning America? She the drum set may be missing right before the bumper, but she seems to be cool and collected at that time. And I have many stories in which yes, some major part of the segment was missing. And yes, it's a moment to panic, but it's not the moment to panic with your guests, because the worst thing you can do to a guest is to panic and give them that energy. So the panic may have been happening inside, but the guest would never get to see that because you don't want that segment to go wrong. And so I got this call. I went to visit this place that was charging for radio, which was, why would you charge for radio? Radio's free, right? But I knew of it because Howard Stern had moved on to SiriusXM very shortly before they called me. And my husband, being someone who listened to Howard Stern for a decade, right, or 2 decades, we had gotten the service. So I went in and I was impressed. Those facilities were mind-blowing. I walked in, there was like a Captain's Kirk chair, and there were like these satellites like on the map floating around. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is my dream of being in media and NASA at the same time. Right? We're doing like extraterrestrial stuff. And so they offered me the job, and I went in as director of talent relations, which basically means you bring all of the artists that come in through the doors to do interviews, performances, and such. And that allowed me to be okay. I'm doing entertainment, but not entertainment that is trying to, find out why Britney was having a meltdown. You know what I mean? Or just try to continue to go at those stories. It was more like, hey, Britney has a new album. Let's talk about it, right? So it felt a little bit better for the soul. My hours were significantly improved, and my days were very much, I would say a 10-hour day, which was incredibly doable, except for Comic-Con. I would say those were 20-hour days, and they were brutal, but super fun. And so once I made my mark, once Sirius became serious, right, like a stop, I found out that there was a position. Someone reached out and they said, they're looking for someone in the college, and I had always said I would go back to college to, to give back as a professor, whatever, because my advisor was Joe Dembo, the late Joe Dembo, who I call Dumbledore at Fordham University, and his path was the same as mine. He did radio, foreign correspondent, to television, right, to radio, to teaching. And I adore that man. That was the man that when I got a full scholarship to go to John Jay for criminal justice for a master's, and then I got the offer from Good Morning America, we sat down and he's like, is this really a question? Like, this is a dream job. Like, you can do a master's later and I just finished in December my master's. So that one goes to Joe Dembo, right? So when I walk on that stage in June, July, whenever that particular commencement happens to be, that will be dedicated to Joe, because he said you can do it any other time. So I came to teach, and I always loved to teach. I always taught Spanish or English on the side as part of my many roles that I had to survive as a single first generation immigrant person in America, not knowing anyone. I had 3 jobs all the time. So I had a full-time job. I always taught English or Spanish on the side, and I always did data entry or translations. So I could pay for things. I didn't have my family here. So my role to give back is also to show you that someone who came in at age 22 to this country without knowing a single soul has in the Rolodex a long list of very, very prominent names, has made a career out of it, and now has gone back and it's giving back. So if I, with all of that, was able to do this, so can anyone that sets their mind to it that is currently in college.
And speaking of giving back, I know you have to go, but we have one more question for you.
Okay.
And bringing it all back home to WMSC. You went to all of these crazy places. You met new and exciting people. Your contact list is full of people that all of us probably know. When you came back here to Montclair State, how did we take a college radio station that was a normal college radio station to the best college station in the nation?
Oh, that was a process. So we went from, I came in, we were at Smith Hall, which is right across and to the right of where our building is. We were on the 3rd floor. There was not a lot of signage. The tower is not right next to us, so people don't assume that the radio tower is us. So unlike many other places where you see a lot of signage, we were kind of tucked in. And a lot of people didn't know that we were there. And most of our students were juniors on their 2nd semesters and seniors. So I didn't have a lot of time to really work with them. I did work with them, but that's really rough. And just to give you an example, this is the playlist on one show, not just 2 different shows or 3 different shows. There was a playlist on my 2nd day, which was September 15, 2015. And it was Wicked, Defying Gravity, to 2 Katy Perry songs, to 1 Lady Gaga song, to Phantom of the Opera. And I'm sitting in my office and I'm like, what is going on? Because Sirius is so defined by channels, right? That you have 25 different rock channels and you're not going to hear the same kind of rock in like 2 or 3 different channels. So I walked into the studio. That DJ right now works at Sirius XM doing politics, and she was really cool. So I walked in and I said, so tell me about your playlist. And she said, oh, it goes with my mood. It was my 2nd day working with students. And I was like, no offense, because obviously I'm just like, I'm trying to understand the connection. Is your mood all over the place, right? Because I'm trying to understand where like the connection is. And so we talked for a while, and then that began to improve her playlist. But also I sat down with the music director. I was like, what's happening? Why is there a metal show followed by a 70s funk show, followed by an EDM show? Where is the built-in audience from one show to the next? I mean, if I'm listening to the metal show and then 70s funk comes on, I'm very likely going to turn it off. And if I'm on that show and I go to EDM, I'm very likely going to turn that off. And there was no thinking. People would just plug in their computers and just like go to town. The library was there laughing at everybody because there was not real music in there. So we tackle with music first. We move the service from Live 365 to iHeartRadio. Now, some people will say, hey, why? Why'd you sell your soul? Why you go to iHeartRadio? Like, I was like, whatever. We wanted distribution and discovery. And that's the biggest platform. And I will say this, that was one of the biggest recruiting tools that we ever have had. When we moved to iHeartRadio, people were just showing up because they knew iHeartRadio. And that was one recruiting tool. We improved our talk and news. And this show was 1 day a week, 3 hours a day, very repetitive, right? So 3 hours, 1 day a week. And I was like, can you give me Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 hour and just make it super tight and awesome? And they're like, well, we can't do it in an hour. I was like, I'm just asking you for an hour. So we went from one day, 3 hours a week to the next semester very soon after, 2 days, 2 hours a day. And then the full semester, which was my year in, we went 5 days a week, 2 hours a day. And we have only gone back to 1 hour since the pandemic began, because it's tough to, to keep people engaged. Our class times also have changed, right? So that affects a lot of you, and it's very difficult to have a show without people. So, so we went to 1 hour. And other than that, we have done high profile events, and we have promoted those high profile events. And so we drive at 1,000,000 miles per hour. So if anyone at the university, if anyone outside of the university says to me, like, you need to stop at this little pier over here, I'm on the boat. We're going 1,000,000 miles straight. If I need to do a detour, somebody has to say something, because otherwise we're going to get to the other end and people were left out on the side. So I make it my mission to talk to people, like, hey, Red Hawk, network, what are you guys doing? What is the goal? Hey, NewsLab, what are you guys doing? And so we started working on this focus project, which kind of brings everyone together. We invite the Montclarian to come in, and we want to take everyone on the boat, right? It's kind of like Noah's Ark. Come on, right? But you have to include people. And I will say this, we have been absolutely resourceful with a skeleton budget, a skeleton crew sometimes. We have made things happen that people out there spend a lot of money making happen. So that is absolutely key in whatever you do, because not every time you can receive like $40,000 for one 3-minute segment, which is what sometimes Good Morning America may spend, right? So resourcefulness, reaching out to people, value proposition for the students that are part of it. What am I giving you other than the knowledge? Because by the way, my internship was completely free at Good Morning America, right? I actually paid to be there and travel and eat. And I would do it all over again because my payment was knowledge, right? And I got a gig out of it. For you guys, there is the hands-on experience, but then you also have me to consult on different aspects of where you may be going. You can do mock interviews. You can get a recommendation letter if you're doing an incredible job, right? You can get me to call someone on the back end when you're submitting through the applicant system for any company. If I know someone, I call. If I find out of a scholarship, I am the first one to send it to you. If I find out of a job that makes sense when you just graduated, I will send it to you. And I still get students. I just had someone who graduated in 2017 looking for a gig. They reached out to me like, oh, I just want to change. I'm a freelance, whatever. I made 2 phone calls. She's now working full-time at Beasley Media, right? So this just shows you, I can get you to the door and I can get you to that interview. The rest really largely depends on you, but it's the value proposition for you guys. And it's the kind of programming that we do and what we do for our audience and what we do for our campus.
Well, thank you so much, Annabella Poland, for being here and for guiding us. And as we always say, and we've been joking for years, at least since I've been here, you are our fearless leader. You will always be here for us and we'll always be here for you. And this is, we can say it now. It feels good to say it. Do you want to say what we are, Annabella?
Yeah, we're the #1 station in the country, baby.
And we'll
Upper Montclair.
And we'll be right back here on The Morning Buzz here at 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair.
90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair.
Welcome back to The Morning Buzz here at 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair, the best college station in the nation. It is never I don't think it's ever going to get old to say that over and over, right, Kyle?
I don't think so.
No, absolutely not. Uh, but on the Morning Buzz, we just had a fantastic interview with our general manager, Annabella Poland. If you're just joining us, we were just awarded first prize best college station in the nation by the Intercollegiate Broadcasting System Awards. Fantastic news.
Exactly.
And on the Morning Buzz, of course, we don't usually just pat ourselves on the back every single day. We always go into news and stories, and today that is no different. We're going to go into one of the biggest stories that we heard that came out yesterday. Only a year after Meghan Markle married Prince Harry, they sat down with Oprah for a tell-all interview of the past year. She explained that living with the royals almost drove her to commit suicide. About telling her husband, Markle says that she, quote, was ashamed to have to admit it, saying, quote, she knew that if she didn't say it, she would do it. She was not permitted to seek medical help by palace officials over fear of how it would look to the public. In addition to this, Markle says that certain family members have expressed they do not want their unborn child to become a prince or a princess due to the fact that the baby may have dark skin. Of course, we know Meghan is biracial, so some of the other family members might be concerned about what the baby will look like. Harry and Meghan had already previously turned their backs on the royal family this past year. So, very upsetting news, if it is true. Alleged news, of course, with this interview with Oprah, right, Kyle?
Yeah, it's like I didn't know a lot about this to begin with, but when I was watching the interview and reading it over, this stuff really caught me by surprise. And I gotta say, it's not a great thing to hear.
No, not at all. And there's been a lot of controversies with the royal family in many years past. We've seen it ever since decades ago. Um, Longer than we've been alive, have we seen scandals come out of the royal family. And with us today, of course, is Emma. Hi, Emma. She knows a lot about this
Hello.
topic as well. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're okay. We're a little upset about hearing this story.
Yeah, it's very upsetting. I've been
I think we might have lost her for
Yeah,
a second. She
froze a little bit.
She said, I think, and then her hands crossed, her head's to the side. If you're watching us on Facebook Live, and she froze. But anyway, going to hopefully she can come back in just a second. It is live radio after all. We just
Right.
got to roll with the punches, right, Kyle?
Exactly.
So, I personally think it's despicable that somebody within the royal family would be refused to see medical attention after even contemplating suicide. It's such a serious topic, and it affects so many people. This is not the right view.
No, not at all. This, like, it's bad. I mean, the subject matter itself is bad, but the fact that out of fear of public image, they're like, hey, maybe don't do this, not only makes it worse overall, but guess what? Now they're under even worse public fire for not doing it. So bad move all around on their part.
Yeah, you see, if I was them, you would think that you would know after decades and centuries of being a part of this royal family, especially the queen. I feel like she's been alive for centuries at this point. You know that the press is going to get this. And even if you didn't know, this is not the right thing to do. And I think we have Emma back. Hi, Emma.
Hi. Yeah, sorry about that, everyone.
No worries.
I completely agree with you. I think that a lot of people dropped the ball on this one for sure. I assumed that there was going to be a big thing that she was going to say, but this was beyond what I expected. I think this is really, really, really unfortunate. I'm really disappointed that the royal family has not learned their lessons over the last couple years. I also think another reason why this is so big too, which is interesting to me, is that the UK is interested in this for obvious reasons, and a lot of them are upset about it. But Americans are also into it because, well, Meghan Markle is an American, but also the New York Times talked about this too, but with the crown and everything being so big. So I feel like it's very fitting to kind of have the crown and to sort of relive Diana's story, or part of her story, because they haven't finished it in this show, and to watch this happen in front of our eyes. And it's been like 30-40 years, and it's still the same story. So yeah, I think it's really upsetting. I hope that this is maybe what gets them to figure out how to move forward. I understand their values about tradition and everything, but I think it's time to look forward. And I also, the other sad thing too is that Meghan and Harry could have been a really great they would have been great people to do that, to reach out to a younger generation, to move the royal family, that whole institution forward to a point. I mean, they could have maybe given it another 100 years, but because of her lack of protection and the lack of respect that they showed her, they're not going to do that. And it kind of makes me think this could be really, really historic in terms of the royal family and where they're going.
This kind of feels like we're watching another episode of one of these
Mhm.
and when I watch those shows, usually in my head I'm like, who writes this stuff? This would never happen in real life. Like, this isn't real.
Mhm.
Well, unfortunately, I have to say I would be wrong if I was to say that, because we're looking at it right now, and she, wherever you are, whatever organization you're a part of, it should not lead you to contemplate suicide. Nothing should ever make you do that. And if it does, I think it was the right move to get out when she did.
Yeah.
That, and the other thing there's the whole issue of her, the discussions about her child. I mean, that is insane. But also the fact that when she asked for help from the royal family, they denied it because they thought it would look bad. So not only is there clear racism that's being shown, but there's also just a lack of understanding about mental health. And that's another thing that they need to catch on. There's two really, really important things that are really important right now, and they just seem to be tone deaf to it.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the interview, Meghan ends saying, quote, "This is just the beginning for us, and their story is greater than any fairy tale you've ever read." She says Harry made a decision that certainly saved her life. Without question, they saved each other. And I think that's the sweetest thing in the world.
Yeah.
That's a Disney happy ending.
Mhm.
Hopefully we continue to see what we never end up seeing in Disney movies. What happens after the happily ever after? I want to see the happily ever after.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's just upsetting. Hopefully, this kind of thing, this interview with Oprah leads the royal family to understand that this is unacceptable, that there's change being made, and hopefully we do end up seeing those changes. We shall see. I'm not holding my breath about it,
Yeah.
but hopefully something changes.
Time will tell. Yes.
All right, thank you, Emma. We'll check in with you in just a little bit for your segment. That's a tease for all of you listening. We have a wonderful segment in just a bit. Kyle, would you like to bring us into our next story, please?
Yes. As mentioned before by Thomas, Cuomo is defiant as top New York lawmakers call him to quit. So, despite continuous allegations and more New York Democrats withdrawing their support for the governor of New York, he said he has no intention of stepping down. As two more accusations came out against the governor this weekend about his harassment of women in the workplace, Cuomo has been quoted with saying, "They don't override the people's will. They don't get to override elections. I was elected by the people of New York State. I wasn't elected by politicians." End quote. In a press conference, the governor said that impeachment is the only way he will leave the office. So he will not forcibly he will not voluntarily step down. He will have to be removed forcefully. Even though the aforementioned scandals, the twin scandals he's facing, the one about his mistreatment of women in the workplace, and his second one and the second scandal of his refusal to release the nursing home statistics that are speculated to cause a large number of deaths within the nursing home during this COVID-19 pandemic. While battling his allegations, Cuomo said that he's taking steps to return New York City back to normal, as he has opened up indoor dining to 75% capacity everywhere in the state except New York City, which still remains at only 35% capacity, which it started at in February 26th, as well as movie theaters, which have reopened this weekend to a limited capacity. So it's a whole thing going down in New York right now. It's something. I mean, I don't know where the people stand in support of the governor, because as he said, the people did elect him to start with, but a lot of these Democratic politicians are saying, hey, we don't want to support you anymore, which I think is a little bit more damaging than the people's support, at least in my opinion.
Right, because I would agree, I would tend to agree with you. When politicians remove their support, typically people see that, and then you also lose the public support.
Exactly.
So I think it's damaging on both ends for Governor Cuomo, but that's not really the story here. The story is he has many allegations against him, and I just like to take a time machine back in time when Justice Brett Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court had what was attempting to be appointed, and he had all of those allegations against him as well.
Right.
Governor Cuomo said that he should step down because if you have that many allegations against you, it must be true.
Yeah.
And if that's what he believes, it doesn't quite make sense to me why he's still in office.
Practice what you preach.
I think Governor Cuomo is the example of a modern day perfect politician. And by that, I mean all politicians are untruthful. But listen, I'm a firm believer of saying you're innocent until proven guilty. And there has yet to be a trial. All of these allegations as of now are just that in my head.
That is true.
But according to Governor Cuomo, if you have those allegations, and you have that many of them, and he has more than Brett Kavanaugh did,
yeah,
you should resign.
Yeah. I mean, a big thing that some of these New York legislators were saying is this is too much. He's going to get distracted. And then, he's not going to be able to handle the current situation as well to his ability. Because this is just my opinion, not the station's, not even fact, but I feel like Governor Cuomo would probably spend some time trying to cover himself, not like completely defend against the allegations, but try to make any sort of punishment less severe. And I think that's what a lot of politicians and even people would do. All right, they're after me. Let's try to see if I can minimize this as much as possible, which I think, in my interpretation, that's where the distracted quotes come from. I don't know. Lewis, your opinion on that, or even Thomas, because you mentioned this before.
Thomas, you have an opinion?
Honestly, I have to say, I think I agree with the way, innocent until proven guilty, like you said before. So I just want to kind of wait it out. I was reading before, he actually passed some reopening, he's going to reopen a few things in not New York City, but the other regions of the state.
Right.
He's going to start opening up some things. So I think despite the allegations, I think he still will do his job and pass some policies because he kind of has to. That's his job.
Yes, I believe he's still going to attempt to do his job. But what he's saying now is, in addition to this, he is willing to get rid of his emergency powers that he has due to COVID. And without other politicians' support, I don't know how much he's going to be able to get done. And I personally believe that even if he is innocent and he didn't do what these allegations said he's doing, the public and political opinions of political officials
Right.
are so damaging to him now, that I don't think he'll be able to even help New Yorkers if he wanted to. I think we're going to see that over the course of the next year until his election.
Right. And do we know if he does plan to run again? Like, maybe not after all this, but did he plan to run again before all of this happened?
So he is eligible to seek a fourth term in office. However, nothing has been said because this election is not this year. Our gubernatorial election is this year. Theirs, New York, is 2022, fall of
Right.
2022. So they have quite some time. And I always say, we'll see. We'll see. That is the biggest phrase that I think I say about all of these stories.
Yep.
We'll see what he does. We'll see if these allegations are true. And we'll see what he's able to do continuing as the governor of New York for the time being.
Yeah. And this story is still progressing because we covered this even last week and it's become more severe since then. 2 more have come out against it. 2 more women have come out against him. And, it looks like it's getting worse for him before it's getting better at this point.
Right. There's a saying in politics and in news that the scandals either last 1 day, 10 days, or 100 days. And we're getting to the point where if this doesn't end soon for Cuomo, if public opinion doesn't, if people don't stop caring about this,
Right.
it's going to continue for a very long time. And I think it's important personally to see this through.
Yes.
Because when we say allegations, there's somebody behind each of those allegations that, if true, has been victimized.
Yeah.
And I believe it's important to hear everybody's story. Again, we can't confirm that any of these allegations are true. However, when in my opinion, when you do see this trend of so many allegations, it doesn't just happen if you're an honest and nice guy.
Yeah.
So, and I'll say it one more time. We shall see.
We will see. Yes.
All right. You want to take us to our next and final story really quick before we get into our segment?
Sure thing. New Jersey drug maker Merck reports a new antiviral COVID drug that quickly reduces the virus. So the pharmaceutical company Merck, this is from NJ.com, by the way. The pharmaceutical company Merck discovered a new drug called molnupiravir that has been shown to quickly reduce the infection of the COVID-19 virus. Head of the global clinical development, Roy Baines, said, "We continue to make the progress in our phase 2 of 3 clinical programs evaluating molnupiravir in both outpatient and hospital settings. The new drug is shown to be successful in fighting off the infection of several strands of the coronavirus. So not just the main one we've seen this past year, but also the new ones that have popped up in recent news. And Merck have also announced that they will be helping their rivals, Johnson & Johnson, to produce their vaccine to increase the supply."
Well, this is fantastic news, Kyle.
Oh, 100%. I mean, not only is it against the main one that we've been seeing, like I said, but like several strands. So the new ones that were found across seas and all that stuff, like, hey, this one goes for it too. At least as of now, they are still testing it.
And I'd like to commend you, Kyle, by the way, because I think an even bigger accomplishment than them making this drug is you being able to pronounce the name.
Oh, you have no idea. The show I had to record for myself this week, I had to say the technical term for brain freeze. Oh, no.
You can't just say that and not try to say it.
Oh, yeah, I kind of forgot what it was, so I'm going to have to just pull it up real quick.
I'm personally impressed you could say molnupiravir.
Yeah, I got the little phonetics up there.
Molnupiravir. That's hysterical. You got it?
Okay, so brain freeze, or sphenopalatine ganglioneuralgia.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a rough one.
Yeah, it is a rough one. All right, and at the end of our morning buzz every single week, we have a wonderful segment by our good friend Emma, who you heard earlier in the show. Emma, thanks for joining us again.
Of course. All right,
Give us some
guys.
hot takes today.
All right. I do have a question for both of you before I start, and that is, are either of you Marvel fans?
I've
pretty much
seen-
at this point.
All right, so you got Kyle on board. However, I know what you're about to talk about, and I have not seen it.
Oh no. Okay.
Major
really
spoiler
sorry.
warning.
Yeah. I do. Sorry.
Hold on. You're about to give us views and opinions, right?
Yeah.
So this is everyone's warning. If you have not seen WandaVision yet, in its entirety, you can tune out now. Or if we're only going to talk about it really fast. All right, go, Emma.
All right. So this was actually my first Marvel release as a Marvel fan. So this show was very exciting for me. I was really, really excited. I would have liked it to be Black Widow, but it's okay. I understand. We have to do what we have to do today. I also love the Scarlet Witch, or Wanda Maximoff. She is wonderful, and I think her powers are so cool. But yeah, it was really great to see her in the spotlight. So that was awesome. Elizabeth Olsen is fantastic. This was very different from other Marvel productions for many reasons, but overall, I really enjoyed it. But honestly, I have to say, the final episode was a bit meh for me. It was just clearly a transition episode into whatever the next movie is going to be that follows that storyline. I believe it's Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So I feel like it was just sort of a transition show, which is fine. It was still very good. The second to last episode was awesome, and the overall show was great. So I'm not upset about it, but I felt like I needed to say it. And I don't think that it's a popular opinion, but I've gotten really mixed views from the people I've talked to. So Kyle, I don't know if you've seen it.
I have, yes.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on the final episode?
So I've refrained from kind of forming an opinion on it. I know what I think about the episode, but I also have a reason. I know why I think that. So I like the episode. I like the show as a whole, probably one of my favorite Marvel productions out there. But I was disappointed by the finale, not because it was bad. It was a really great episode. But there was this YouTube channel called Film Theory I watched that spoke on this. And I was disappointed in the episode because I had spent so much time watching theories and convincing myself events X, Y, and Z were happened. But instead, A through whatever letter, A through W happened instead. Not to say A through W were bad. Just I was thinking XYZ, XYZ, XYZ.
That's a really good point. Because I actually agree with you. On TikTok, I would always watch theories, and I think you're right. That it did affect my view of it and sort of almost made it less interesting. Not that the theories were necessarily better, but it was just like, oh, I expected this to happen and it didn't.
Right.
And it kind of, yeah. So I actually, before the final episode, I stopped watching the theories because I was upset about the whole Agatha Harkness thing, about knowing about that before it happened.
Right.
So we're just gonna have to be careful of that in future Marvel releases.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
But yeah, overall, great show. Highly recommend, especially if you're a Marvel fan. So
Well,
hopefully that wasn't too bad, Lewis.
No, it was perfect. It was perfect. I took my headphones off for a second. I didn't want to hear it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. But thank you so much, Emma, for your weekly segment. We always appreciate it, and we'll see you next week. And this goes for everyone. We'll see everyone next week on the Morning Buzz. And, of course, the Morning Buzz goes every single day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 a.m., along with other live and pre-recorded content here on not one of, I don't have to say one of anymore, the best college station in the nation. I've been Louis Biontalilla.
I am Kyle Pepitone, aka the Kingpin parentheses of Spades.
I'm Thomas Trotter.
And I am Emma Coughlin.
And this has been the Morning Buzz on WMSC Upper Montclair.